Let's get started. I'm trying to finish this case. It's going fuck to loop-de-loops. It should have been over by now, but you know. William Shakespeare, my liege, for mine occupation I can say only that I be a tragic victim to be pitied. Certainly currently unemployed, in other words. I'm Olive Green. I'm a fledgling artist. Well, no. Not a fledgling, really. A hopeless failure who's too weak-spirited to admit she has no talent, I suppose. Also currently unemployed, in other words. The coterie. Yes. My lord, I am thy humble servant. I'm afraid that you are no longer merely the victim in this affair. The possibility has been raised that you are in fact the assailant, intent on taking the life of your fellow lodger. The part you have played in this whole business will be thoroughly scrutinized, I assure you. I would for none else, my lord. And Miss Green. Yes? You are aware of the reason you have been summoned to this courtroom today, I presume. Yes, the officer did explain. He said I poisoned this ridiculous buffoon. Christ. And, do you accept the charge, Miss Green? I don't know anything about any poisoning. And I don't know anything about this man. Come, lady. Die to live. Verily, I know not thy prickly, pea-pigmented personage. You two were literally arguing yesterday. I don't know what you're talking about. How are you today, Ash? Alright. It's all very strange indeed. Why would you suspect me? I barely ever go to the East End anyway. It so happens that I passed by the neighborhood 6 days ago, that's all. And on the night this man was poisoned, I was still in hospital, fighting for my life. Yes, having been unfortunately called up in the incident on the street outside the Gerardev household. An incident that rendered you unconscious for some 3 days. I was struck in the middle of my back by a knife through no fault of my own, and now I'm under suspicion? What other irrelevant things might I be suspected of? It's all very disturbing. Ooh, I didn't get very much sleep, but I'm awake, so awake I will be. I'm glad you got sleep. Sleep's important. At this point in time, all that appears to connect you with Mr. Shakespeare's lodging is the Briar Road incident of 6 days ago. It's better. I think it's gone. I am apparently too old to get on rides with spinny wheels that go up in the air. Spinny wheels on ground, fine. Spinny wheels in air, not fine. Also, maybe could have been the bright fucking lights because the teenagers with me also were feeling nauseous. And they're like half my age, so might also not be my age thing because all 3 of us were feeling fucking nauseous. Of course, one of them decided to drink soda and eat candy afterwards, so who knows? Yeah, I feel like better a bit today. That's why we would like you to testify formally now about exactly what happened. Oh no, the incident 6 days ago? You mean you want me to relive that awful accident? Yeah, that makes sense. I usually don't have a problem, but most of the time when I go to rides, it's Disneyland. Because the fares are not that Disneyland's not expensive, but like, you save up for Disneyland. Fairs cost more money than they should. Unfortunately, yes. Please tell the court what happened that day. And of course, we will be interested to hear from you about your movements that day too, Mr. Shamspear. But what happened 6 ago is nothing to do with me being poisoned. Are you sure? Let us proceed then. The witnesses will present their formal testimony to the court. It was 6 days ago at about 5 p.m. I was walking along in the snow when I was suddenly stabbed in the back. You're gonna get paint on your face. Coincidentally, it happened to be just outside the house where the men in this case have their lodgings. I was at the tavern on the eve of which thou speakest, for I have bespoke my supper. It was the first time I'd been in the area. I had a little matter to attend to, that's all. Anyway, I was admitted straight to the hospital, so I knew nothing about all this business. Oh, that was a short-ass testimony. Meanwhile, you say you were not in your room, Mr. Shamspear? 'Twas the following morn when I did awaken that I learned of the dire events. Mary, what a commotion did the officers of the law make on the floor above mine. The Soseki-san was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. Is suspected. There is nothing connecting these two witnesses but happenstance. True, it does seem as though they're unrelated at first glance, but I'm not so sure. Her boyfriend was literally murdered. Like a month before that. We're not gonna conclude that evidence? That evidence seems important. There's something lurking in the shadows here. I feel certain of it. This is my one and only chance to expose it. Okay. I'm well acquainted with the case. I'm sorry you had to go through that. It was awful. I still can't believe I was unconscious for so long. And I woke up to find that the case had been solved and the culprit arrested. Yes, the incident has been resolved already. Perhaps it would help you to consider it a bad dream that ended with your awakening, and should now be forgotten. Yes, I suppose so. Thank you. But before you put it completely behind you, Miss Green, I need you to remember the details one last time. You must tell the court exactly what happened that day, for us to arrive at the truth about this new case. The trouble is, there's nothing to tell, really. I was just walking along the pavement. Face smudgies. What were you doing there that day, though? What do you mean? The art school you attend. What's it called? Ah, yes. It's the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. According to Mr. Sholmes, that's just in the vicinity of Brixton Road, which is some 10 stops away from the scene of the Underground. I believe you mentioned before that you also live on Brixton Road, isn't that right? So why then would you have been walking along Briar Road in the middle of the East End? Well, it's because, oh yes, of course. I thought it might make a nice picture. She's already told us what happened. The witness is a student of art. City-dwelling artists can't all paint grand urban vistas. That's right. Stop leading the witnesses, buddy. I happen to like the crumbling look of that part of town. Perhaps quaint would have been a less grating term. The point is, she's definitely hiding something. Yes, it seems she's not going to be forthcoming with the truth. If she's trying to hide why she was there that evening, it must mean there's a reason for her not wanting us to know. That's the key to this. Didn't you tell us? And you, Mr. Shamspear, on the evening of the incident 6 days ago. Would you tell the court what exactly you were doing? It would be my pleasure, sire.
Hold it!
A tavern, you say? Which one? 'Twas the Slug and Salad where I did tarry. 'Tis a jewel in the East End. And a little unexpected, I feel. What do you mean, Lord Van Zieks? The Slug and Salad offers unusually fine dining for the locality, at least. Not an establishment you'd expect to be patronized by a man who, with not even a crumb of bread in his room. You do these things where you suddenly help me, can you not? It's true. The menu lists premium crusts of bread and glasses of water in different levels of cloudiness. Okay. I would have expected Grub's Grubbery in the local vicinity to be more appropriate for your means. Watery soup and mushy peas, or rather soupy water and pea-like mush. Sir. All equally appetizing. I just wanted to try some water in a different pub for once. What's wrong with that? How different can water really be? Or perhaps there's a more plausible explanation. A specific reason why he had to go to that particular establishment. Agreed. The fact that on the day of all days he dined at a place he wouldn't normally, it does stand out. Mr. Shamster's own action on the day of the incident 6 days ago were slightly suspicious. I wonder if we have some evidence that can explain those actions. I don't think we do. I don't think we do. I wish we did, but sadly I can't think of anything at the moment. If we find a clue that it could explain why Mr. Shamspear was there, we must present it to the court. Yes, absolutely, if I fucking knew.
Hold it!
What little mattered, Miss Green? Please elaborate. It was nothing, really. It's not worth mentioning. If you remember, you mentioned to us yesterday at the hospital. It was related to the card you were holding. From memory, I believe that card contained a note that read, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. What does that matter? That has nothing to do with Duncan. I knew that this was gonna come up at some point.
Excuse me!
Mr. Shamspear, do you have something to share with the court? To be or not to be? That is the question. Ah, pray forgive me. The great bard's words springeth from within me with ne'er a thought. Don't tell me. It's because you're possessed by Shakespeare's spirit, right? Hearing Miss Green's words a moment ago seemed to make you think of something. Something of relevance, perhaps? Well, nay, sire. 'Tis nothing at all. Presumably you know the name, though. Mr. Duncan Ross, I mean. After all, you are both lodgers in the same house. I would it were so, but sadly nay. Lodging be a lonely occupation, sire. My lodging fellows be rarely known to me. You haven't heard of him, even though he passed away in the room just one floor above yours. Me, my lord? Have I done something wrong? It needs to be put into court evidence. And he had a piece of it! He had a piece of it in his room. I do, yes, but I don't need it anymore. In fact, I should throw it away, really. It does. It does, because he has this piece. Which I think now we can put them together. Yep. Bless you, my darling. Her card. I don't think we could do any more to.
Hold it!
Yes, you didn't regain consciousness until the day after the trial, did you? In the early hours. Exactly, so how could I have had anything to do with it? And yet you still haul me in here to court like this, honestly. At the time of the poisoning, the witness was unconscious on her hospital bed. Could there be a more airtight alibi, I ask you? And yet, in spite of that, you claim that I was the culprit. Well, But you certainly haven't produced any evidence to support your wild claim, have you? None at all. I have the poison bottle. There you have it. The good lady has yet to see evidence, my learned Nipponese friend. I'm working on it. Oh, Mr. Naruto, you pursued Mr. Shakespeare wonderfully there. It worked out well, hasn't it? We have a new clue at last. Alright, now I need to pull off a really insightful objection somewhere. Well, as you've managed to expose this promising new angle, I wonder if you should perhaps try to develop that. Can I press her or present her on that? Or do I have to go to where he interrupted?
Objection!
He's doing the panic eyes. Anytime he does the panic eyes, that's wrong. You're panicking. You got panic eyes. Panic eyes are not great. I think I have to press Shakespeare on it.
Hold it!
Oh, it doesn't pop his thing up again. I think it was this one where it was like, let's push the evidence. Oh, fuck, wrong button. Let's see if it does it again. Do I have evidence for that? On the day in question, is it not the case that you visited the Slug and Salad, a place you don't normally patronize, for a very particular reason? I don't know what you're talking about. Pray, if thou hast some purpose, speaketh. Very well, I will present the court with evidence. Salad that day. It has to be the letter. Right? Right? Maybe don't save over that, though. Maybe would it not be the letter?
Take that!
I believe this card reveals the answer. That's right, my lord. It reads, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Mr. Shamspeare, your actions on the afternoon of Miss Green's stabbing are exactly as described in this note. Personally, I find it hard to believe that's a coincidence. Don't you, Mr. Shamspeare? Excuse me, can I say something? Yes, Miss Green. That card was delivered to me. It doesn't have anything to do with this odd man, does it? Well, you'd think so, yes, but it's hard to believe it's merely... My lord, may I? May you what, Miss Green? I'd like to make something very clear about that card. Very well, then. You may amend your testimony to include details about that particular note. The note was delivered to me at my address. It has nothing to do with the odd man next to me here. Oh, but it does, somehow. Okay. I would suppose that the best way would be to show that part of the note was at his house. I kind of want to make a jump without pressing her, because we found the other piece at his house. It might be too soon, but...
Objection!
The day before the incident, exactly 1 week ago now, this note was delivered to your address, and upon carrying out the instructions in the note, you found yourself in hospital. Yes, I did. It's terrible. Everything that's happened to me. Yes, it is terrible. If it's all true, that is. What do you mean? Miss Green, have a look at this, please. It's a torn off end of an envelope. Oh, is it? And it so happens that it fits together perfectly with the envelope of the note you received. Where did you find that? In Mr. Shamspeare's room. In my room? Mr. Shamspeare, do you perhaps remember this note from somewhere? She also could have dropped it when she went to go poison him, by the way. Like, he doesn't necessarily have to know the note for her to have been in his room for some reason, which is the poison that we have. Your actions that afternoon follow the instructions in the note to the letter. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th, and so that's exactly where you went. Let me ask you again, Mr. Shamspeare. You already knew about this note, didn't you? Did he send it, or did she send it to him and then try to take it back so there was no evidence of her being there? Because the best way to poison this man would be when he's not there and to, like, pay for a meal for him. And you, Miss Green. Ah, what did I do? As this torn off end of the envelope proves, the note was originally in Mr. Shamspeare's room. So how is it that it came to be in your possession? I don't have the first idea. I'm just a fledgling artist after all. There is only one explanation. You broke into Mr. Shamspeare's room and stole it. Or she delivered it and then tried to give her the evidence. You did what? Sorry. Thou hast what? You broke, thou were in my room? What on earth do you want with me? It would seem that both witnesses need to testify again. Miss Green. Yes? Whilst you have the court's sympathy, I'm sure, for the suffering you have endured in recent events, anyone found to be giving false testimony in the court of law will be duly punished. This man goes from, like, battering me down and talking shit about me to, like, helping me the minute he realizes I'm right. Please bear that in mind. Yes, I know. Here we go again. Here we go again. I do remember now. 'Twas a week ago. Peradventure, that note was delivered unto me. On the day writ therein, I did tarry a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening, I shared the company of the Japanese fellow. I did see the note had vanished. I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? I can point out the villain here, and as for that torn-off piece of the envelope, I don't know anything about it. She just was like, let me straight fucking lie. Faith, 'tis so, my lord, and I would swear to have set upon the table in my humble lodgings. Yet 'tis clear to me now that since I returned from the tavern that night, I have not laid eyes upon it. A lie? Is that what you think? How unfair of you to think I'm the one lying. I'm just a fledgling artist, as I said, and fledgling artists don't lie. The note was delivered to me at my address. Besides, we all know who the liar around here is. If that's true, Miss Green, how do you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was, without question, found in Mr. Shamspeare's. I don't see why I should explain. Can you not interrupt me when I'm reading? Sorry. I'm a fledgling artist. My job here is just to say what happened. That's all. It's your job to give the explanations and the proofs. You, the fledgling lawyer. Fledgling will do his best. Evidently, my learned friend's cross-examination is our only hope of learning the truth. I'm ready, my lord. Here we go. Also, I would point out, in cases now, when you are asked a question and you choose to talk back like that, that gets you in trouble. You can't choose not to answer a question unless the judge goes, hey, you don't have to answer, because it's leading or whatever. But Ryunosuke didn't ask a leading question. He just asked, what was the truth of the statement. It's not leading that leads, an open-ended question. Miss Green clearly did break into Mr. Shamsbury's room. There can be no question of that. That's how she acquired the note. Yes, 2 facts that are starting to lead me to a possible explanation for all of this. And it's not a pretty one.
Hold it!
Can you shed any light on the contents of the note at all? Hey, sire, 'tis as strange to me as a foreign tongue. Even with a knowledge of literature as great as mine own, verily, 'tis impenetrable. But Mr. Duncan Ross had lodgings in the same household as you. In effect, he was your neighbor, so surely you knew him, didn't you? Alack, if the choice is betwixt I knew him and I knew him not, then 'twas with foreboding that I be forced to declare we were by some small measure acquainted. Despite your claims, though, you followed the note's instructions and went to the Slug and Salad. Presumably that was nothing to do with your knowledge of literature. Marry, naught will have the better of me, sire, save for the lure of curiosity. So 'tis true, I was compelled by mine own eager heart to betake myself to the tavern. Yet in the end, my curiosity was not satiated.
Hold it!
So even after waiting for an hour, nobody appeared? Well, yes, sire. 'Tis as thou sayest. Really, you paused for a moment before you answered. In truth, when thou asked whether nobody appeared, I did suddenly recall. I was not alone that night at the Slug and Salad, my lord. No, 'tis returning to me now. I did treat my lips to almost clear water, and mine innards to a premium crust of bread, and all around me danced a great many companions. What do you mean? Flies, sire, flies. In the name of Beelzebub, what were they? Fairies, perchance, from a midsummer's night dream, come to taunt me? I think they were just flies. I can't help thinking that the flies ought to choose something more wholesome to buzz around. Is that wrong of me?
Hold it!
When exactly did you notice it had gone missing? Such idle thoughts ne'er accompany my mind. I am busied with greater ideas. In other words, you didn't notice. Several days passed between your outing to the tavern and Mr. Natsume's visit to your room. Yes, it would. Well, I don't want to read all this. Jesus. Such idle thoughts ne'er occupy my mind. I am busied with greater ideas. Yes, of course. It's all some sort of misunderstanding, isn't it, Mr. Prosecutor, sir? You have so far failed to give a satisfactory explanation as how you came by the note. When he turns around to help us, when he realizes people are being fucking bullshit, and it's very obvious bullshit that he can't work with, he just gives up working with it. And to be fair, he is the prosecutor, so technically, even though the defense has pointed out it's someone else, and his job is still to prosecute the person that I am defending, his job is still also to prosecute. Well, everyone is guilty. For him. That is his job. I am not here to advocate for your defense, madam. I won't tolerate inconsistencies in your story. You will do well to remember that. Oh, dearie me. What's Lord Van Zeek's getting at? He's saying that she's talking shit and basically pretty much lies, and it's not his job to make sure that she gets away with it. He's now helping us because his job and who is guilty has changed, and he knows that, so he has to prosecute the right person. He still has to do the proper job.
Hold it!
It seems that this note was actually delivered to Mr. Shamspeare about 1 week ago. Oh, does it? But for some reason, it ended up in your possession. I can't think of any way that could have happened except for you breaking into Mr. Shamspeare's lodgings.
Objection!
But for what reason would the witness have done that? I won't deny that Miss Green's possession of the note would appear to defy logic. However, until and unless her involvement in this case can be proven in some other way, any further pursuit of this note is meaningless. You can't pick a lane. Miss Green could only have come to be in possession of the note by stealing it from Mr. Shamspeare's room. And yet, there's no obvious reason why she would have done such a thing. What if there was some other reason she broke into his lodgings, though? Yeah. I mean, I know why.
Hold it!
So you don't want to tell the court the truth about the letter, is that it? I'm a fledgling artist, remember? Artists are nearly always introverted characters. Introverted? Hi, this fledgling doth readily cast aspersions about my nature. Yet I am an angel, a seraph. Birds do harmonize with my song. The wind doth frolic on. We've proved, like, this whole case that you could lie in the entire... I don't know why you're still trying. Oh, pity, wherefore thus accuse one so pure of heart, ample woman? Pure of heart? I don't think so. Even a fledgling like me can see you're just a failure. Tragedy, thou shalt not know the true heart of an artist than by instructions hereafter by death. Oh, the days, oh, the years. Alas, to enlighten thee, thou must wait so long and in vain. Okay. I'm no Shakespearean actor, Miss Susato. No, as far as I could tell, the only thing that's going to resolve this argument is evidence. Yes! It's clear that Miss Green did in fact break into the Mr. Shamspeare's room, isn't it? That's where she found this letter. Yes, two more or less foregone conclusions that lead me to one terrifying conclusion. Terrifying? Yes. I'm afraid to say that the outcome of this cross-examination may well change how we look at this case completely. Hey. Okay. So it's probably going to be either that one or the last one. And I think it's going to have to be the picture about Duncan. I can't think of there being another evidence. I mean, there's the poison bottle, but there's also this. I'm feeling the...
Objection!
I felt it in my soul. Yesterday at the hospital, we saw you with this bottle. And though the contents spilt during the course of our meeting, a small quantity remained. According to the defense independent analysis, Mr. Shalm's chemistry set, the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified. A strychnine. What? Strychnine? The very same poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspeare. Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings, for one reason and one reason alone. To cover the end of the pipe that feeds the gas lamp in Mr. Shamspeare's room with poison. You broke into my room to... It may seem incredible to the court, but from the remaining clues, there is only one logical conclusion that we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shamspeare's life with poison was you, Miss Olive Green. Yes, my lord. There's no other way to explain the facts. That's a very good point. Perhaps not, my lord. Nobody defends us. There was a significant police presence in the area that evening on account of the incident on Briar Road. Local residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of the ongoing inquiry. A circumspect criminal would likely have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoing at that time. Lord Van Zeeks? And of course, the following morning, there was more activity at Mr. Shamspeare's address. More activity? Ah, yes. You mean his fellow lodger, Mr. Natsume, being arrested on suspicion of murder. That's right. And as the defense has already proposed, Mr. Shamspeare was meddling with the gas in the pipe for a very sinister reason himself, to cause the gas stove in Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupant. But once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. In the circumstances, Mr. Shamspeare had no reason to blow air into the gas pipe. His intended victim being in the prison cell. With the need to tamper with the gas removed, the poison on the pipe lay dormant. And then, 3 days ago now, the situation changed again. Right, Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end. That resulted in Mr. Natsume returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out, and Mr. Shamspeare was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was present on the mouth of the gas pipe had been put there in the victim's room some 4 days earlier. A little box. With that new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of the plan. The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the slug and salad at 5 o'clock, and that the recipient should tell nobody else. The reason for those instructions are now clear. To ensure that the lodger would not be at his home at the stated time. I said this like 10 minutes ago that this was the case. To make sure I wasn't home? Exactly. While you were out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed. You mean to say that letter was written by Miss Green, yes. And in order to cover her tracks, she took it away with her when she left. Just after she smeared poison over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room. Just who are you? Why did you try to kill me? Miss Green's motive should be obvious. I know what it is. It's all tied up with someone whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial. So, that's what's behind all this. You will share your apparent understanding with the court. I've said it before.
Take that!
That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsumi, took up residence in the lodgings at Mr. Garadeb's, somebody else was renting the room. Mr. Duncan Ross. I knew I'd heard the name somewhere else. It was all over the papers a month ago, when the man died in strange circumstances at the haunted lodgings. Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind, nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shamspeare blowing into the gas pipe and causing gas to leak into the room. It was murder, plain and simple. Well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, curious death, that's all people care about. Technically, she could also be acquitted, because technically what she did she can claim insanity because her lover was killed. I don't think they'll do that. I don't think that's how they worked back then, but you know. It's an interesting story they want to know. It doesn't cross their minds that real people are involved. And once they're bored, just 1 month later, once the story's lost its appeal, everyone's forgotten him. You mean Duncan was... Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shamspeare. But she's known exactly who you are, all along. Because you're her sworn enemy, the murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry. Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact revenge on Mr. Shamspeare, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe? This is all quite extraordinary. I've been accusing the other guy for a while, but you know. Yes, my lord. That's correct.
Objection!
Eating homie in Nipponese. Ah, improvement! Inhaling so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken in a lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded. What? Why would Mr. Shamspeare have wanted to kill these lodgers, as you say? I'm pretty sure he was in prison with the guy that hid money. That curse that the curse of the room was on. You have completely failed to provide a motive to substantiate your accusations against the man. Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaper, my liege. I have been slighted. 'Tis lies, all lies. I deny every utterance. And you'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naruto, sir. But I don't intend to admit to anything either. Miss Green, I'm sure you'll think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel. You broke into the man's room. If you didn't do it to smear poison on the pipe, what was your reason? I would hope he does that soon. You know. I thought I'd have a look around, that's all. Sorry? You're right, I suspected him. But I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life. Oh vileness, oh villainy, oh tyranny, oh rotundity of woman. But in any case, whenever I leave my room, I do turn the key in the lock. That whole place is falling apart. The locks and the doors are no different. Duncan showed me how to unlock the door, with some terps and a piece of wire. We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion, but for now, Tell the court what you found, what evidence your search revealed. Well, I spotted the note that I'd sent him lying on the floor. When I went to pick it up, I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it, I discovered a secret hiding place. Yes, we also discovered that hiding place. Inside, we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box. Ah, yes. Well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty. What? There was something in it? Obviously. Yes. This rather nice key. What are you doing with that? How did you not recognize it? It's been around her neck the whole fucking time. What the? Every ounce of color is drained from his face. Give it here. Give it to me now. It's mine. I inherited it. He is the person that was in the jail cell with the other dude. What was that, witness? What did you say? You inherited it? I know what it's all about. I know what it's about. It was obviously important to you since you'd gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it. I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you. So what if it means you can't open something now? I don't care. Give it back this minute. Give it to me! Mr. Shamster has tried, and in one case succeeded, to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that's happened. It's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Shamspear. At first. But considering everything we now know, I think there is actually something that could explain it. What? I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal. Everything we've seen and heard. I know what it is. He has a key. And the question is... Oh no, we put everything. She put everything into this folder. There used to be like a piece outside of it, but she moved everything into the folder, I think. Yeah. So it would be this.
Take that!
The Selden file. How did you get a hold of that? Selden, the now sadly deceased Mr. Ross and the defendant Mr. Natsume, have only one thing linking them. The fact that they had lodgings in the same room. In a room that was formerly occupied by Selden. Until, that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries. And it so happens that the convict Selden left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. The sum £1,000 worth of loot that he stole. Which as yet remains to be found. £1,000 lost en route to hell. That was how the paper summed it up. And it seems that one particular fellow inmate was with the convict in his final moments. It's not hard to imagine Selden entrusting that inmate with his most closely guarded secret, the location of the stolen loot, and perhaps a key. To unlock whatever container the valuables were in. You mean this key is... Mr. Shamspear, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, were you not? What are you talking about? 'Tis a false charge, I tell you, a false charge. The name of the inmate who was with Selden at his death isn't noted in this file. But the simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how false the charge really is. Because he hasn't been able to get in the room. When he talked to Mr. Mr. Garadeb told us he wanted that room, and then dealt with getting another room. There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Selden hid his loot. So, it all comes out. Yes, and having established that, all of Mr. Shakespeare's subsequent actions start to make perfect sense. When he was let out of prison following Selden's death, he made immediately for Mr. Garrideb's lodgings in the hope of renting Selden the room. However, the retired army man was unable to offer him the accommodation of his choice, because Selden's room had already been let to somebody else, Mr. Duncan Ross. Which is why Mr. Shakespeare subsequently devised a gas-based plot to kill the occupant of the room. And when he was successful, he presumably intended to inquire about switching into the newly vacant room. However, a certain jittery someone had beaten him to it. So you decided to use the ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Shakespeare? This time to oust Mr. Natsume. All for one simple and nefarious reason. To get your hands on the 1,000 pounds of loot left behind by the dead convict. Ow. Looks like I'm gonna snuff it before they get to stretch my neck. Oh, this was the guy telling him. Listen, I want you to have me loot. Anything to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. It's hidden in the room where I was lodging when they got me. Here, have this key to it. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Hey. What were you in jail for? Probably faking being someone that you're not. Oh. Did he just say? It's mine. That loot is mine. Oh, the face. Mr. Shakespeare. It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fellow. Forsooth, I'm the victim here, remember? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? If I don't admit to it, there's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me, for the time being, anyway. Verily, you can't arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close, I just need a few more hours. I swore to myself that I'd get my hands on it, and I can almost taste it now. You're basically incriminating yourself, though. Do you really think I'd just give up? There's no question in my mind now. This man is guilty through and through. But he seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. I'm afraid that however hard you press him, he'll never admit to what he's done, Mr. Naruto. There is a way. Pardon? There's one way I can finish him. The way they phrase things. No. He's already committed to the most heinous crime. He's already committed the most heinous crimes to get his hands on that loot. Which means all we need to do is find it first. A fine plan. Were it not for the fact that the police thoroughly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross. If it's there at all, it must be very well hidden indeed. If only there was some way we could find the convict's loot quickly. This is the final piece in this complex puzzle, but I think we might have it in our possession already. Or rather, I think we may as well have something that can help us find where that loot is hidden. He raised his hand! This is not a classroom! You don't need to raise your hand! The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find the late convict's hidden loot. I believe we're already in possession of something that could give us a clue as to its whereabouts. I need to go back, sir. It's our last chance, so it has to be worth a gamble. Besides, We've used the same technique once already, and it definitely paid off then. It's the handprint thing, right? It's just gonna be the handprint picture, right? Because Herlock never gave us anything else. It's not gonna be this photo, apparently, but I'm thinking it's this.
Take that!
That's right, my lord. Exposed as a result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene. Based on a wonderful new discovery in the field of forensic scientists by the great detective Mr. Sholmes. A great detective? Is that some kind of joke? Do you really think I'm gonna be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title? I should think the great bard ought to recognize such a title when he hears one, Mr. Shamspear. When the fuck did you decide to come up here? What the fuck? Perhaps... I didn't do the right accent, though. Perhaps we should compete for the honor of most ridiculous title. Ah, it's just Sherlock Holmes... Herlock Sholmes himself. I keep trying to say it the right way. What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are the filthy back streets of the capital, are they not? Ah, Mr. Reaper. What was I can't remember the exact accent I've been doing for this man. Because it's been too long. It's been too long, I agree. And I see your complexion has worsened since we last met. Mr. Sholmes, he does know Lord Van Zeeks then. Well enough to say something like that in any case. If I may, my lord. Mr. Sholmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover vital clues in this case already. I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by an individual under scrutiny. It's the method by which we were able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. You need only a small sample of something that the individual has previously touched to make an indicator solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you'd been holding. Elementary. So now, Mr. Naruto. Yes? What am I to use as a sample to make the indicator solution this time? Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. When the convict was arrested, he was living in what is now Soseki-san's room. We need a sample to help locate Selden's loot that was hidden in his old room. What form will the sample take? Do I even have anything? What would I do for that? It's the whole fucking gas meter. There we go. Okay, I was about to say, cause you need like Selden's DNA to do this. There's nothing that we've gotten that would have that. And the something the convict owned happens to be in the possession of somebody listed in the court record. Upon my word, Mr. Naruto. There it is. There it is. Your powers of reasoning appear to be on the up. So, which particular person do you have in mind? I mean... He lives in the room. He knew him. He owns it. There's 3 people it could be. I want to say Natsume because he's living in the room.
Take that!
I know it wasn't. What? There's there's an achievement for that.
Take that!
Nope. 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 It has to be the person the key! Oh, the fucking key.
Take that!
The key. I forgot about the key already. She's been touching it though. So doesn't that defeat the purpose? Like, her fingerprints are all over the other fingerprints? Oh, to me, that would defeat the purpose. That's why you're not supposed to touch evidence. Miss Green. Me? What do you want with me? The key around your neck, if you please. Sorry? That key belonged to Selden. There will be remnants of secretions from the man's skin on the surface that we can use. But it's also been touched by Miss Green, by Shamspear, like... okay. You can isolate fingerprints, but I feel like over time, that's going to be harder. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholm's skin print seeker. And find out exactly what Selden touched in the room that he used to rent. Mr. Shamspear, as one great to another, I assure you. If the late convict's hall is hidden somewhere in his former lodgings, I shall uncover it in no more than 30 minutes. So, Mr. Shamspear, the truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Selden's stolen wealth. In that case, I'll gladly let Mr. Sholmes have this key. No! Give the key to me! The detective shan't have it! It's over, Mr. Shamspear. You're out of options now. There's only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt. I never intended to kill the man. I just wanted to drive him out of the room, that's all. So you'd have time to find the convict's haul of stolen goods. Yet after you killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room. I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused. Why? I was 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing. Mr. Garrett really has a lot to put up with. And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting the room out of action for a while. And then, this Japanese man swooped in at just the right moment to sign the new lease. Poor Mr. Natsume, what unfortunate timing. Then, 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road where the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I'd finally have my chance, but it wasn't to be. No, the scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day. And, if I remember rightly, Mr. Sholmes spent the whole day in there reading books. I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot. Which is why, on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, you once again tried your trick of blowing air into the pass pipe that feeds the stove in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, this action would lead you into a deadly trap. William Shamspear. How does it go? To be or not to be? That is the question. From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1. Of course you would know. Of course you would know these things. Well, let me tell you, in your case, it's not to be. That is the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done. At first, I really did think it was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died. If he had just waited, this dude was gonna move out. Well, that was the last time we ever spoke. That very night, he fell victim to the gas. If only I'd known it was going to happen, I'd have insisted he left that horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regret. I stopped going to school, but something kept drawing me back to the house on Briar Road. I saw a stooped Eastern-looking man with a mustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. He walked up the road to Grub's Grubbery for some food, so I followed him, and sat myself down next to him. He had some watery-looking soup and started to pick a quarrel with the publican. The place is cursed, I tell you, cursed. Duncan was gone, and now this man had almost suffered the same fate. Could it really be a curse? Then I remembered. A rumor I'd heard about how the gas companies go around investigating the gas installations. Yes, everybody's heard the stories, it seems, about how they go around checking the pipes. How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework. That's when it started. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind. It just wouldn't go away. Was it really an accident, though? Once I'd had the idea, it wouldn't leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End. A black market? I'd never been, I just heard people talk about them. And you really can buy anything you can think of there. In some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me even more determined. I had to find out one way or another. Was Duncan's death an accident, or was it murder? And your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Smear poison on the gas pipe you suspected the man of tampering with, and wait. If Mr. Shamster was innocent, nothing would come of what you've done. But if he was guilty, he would pay for his crimes dearly. I found out the name of the man I suspected, William Shamspeare. And when I wrote him this little note, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. If he'd done it, I knew that would worry him enough, so he'd be sure to go. So I waited to see if it worked. And of course, Mr. Shamspeare followed the instructions, to the letter. I worked out where the gas pipe was straight away, so I smeared a good amount of poison I'd brought all over the mouth of the pipe. All the time praying that the devil's work wouldn't be done, and that it was all just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done, and that the culprit would get his just desserts. Just desserts. Blah, 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 blah. It has been a long road, my Nipponese friend. He's back to saying that again. And one I certainly didn't envision walking with you. That was gay. Yeah, I was saying, he's getting way worse than she is because hers was more like a grief thing. And she didn't actually commit the murder, it was attempted. Ah, yes? Yesterday, at the hospital, when you and your friends stopped me from ending your life by drinking what was left in the poison bottle. It wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going through my mind. To be or not to be, I suppose. That's a question that's so hard to answer, it seems. Well, personally, I'm glad of your being here, Miss Green. And I'd like to believe that it's a blessing Mr. Shamsper didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least. Because of you, I chose life, not death. And now, you've made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough. Oh, Miss Green. Poor man needs to move out of that place and never go back. Divine justice. My dear fellow, if there were any divine justice in this world, you would shave that mustache. Going back to me the accent I was using for Sholmes. Some say that a luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical prowess, Mr. Sholmes. Congratulations on your acquittal. You're second in almost as many days. You've had such a difficult time, haven't you? Ah, but a week ago now. I dragged you out of that dark and dingy room of yours, did I not? My dear fellow, there was nothing special about the true face of the English, as you put it. Wheresoever one goes in the world, humans are human. there are a few genuine differences. Well said. I've come to feel the same way. Just when we become friends here in England. What a terrible shame. Oh my, so you'll be creating your own literature, Mr. Natsume. How wonderful. Why not? When that is precisely the definition, Mr. Mustache. You know, for calling Sholmes your arch nemesis, he's really nice to you. Why do you say those things? He won't be. He won't be. But that's funny. That'd be funny. No, I'm pretty sure that Soseki is supposed to be, He'll come to me. Oh my god, I can think of the names of the poems, but I can't think of the name of the dude. The fuck? He'll come to me, hold on. I don't want the quote. Edgar Allan Poe. God, Jesus, why could I not think of that? I could think of thou quote the Raven. But I was like, what the fuck is the dude's name? He's supposed to be like the Japanese version of Edgar Allan Poe. Which is why he's so dark and depressing. I, for one, would love to read your work. Well, all things considered, it may be for the best. After all, you will once again emerge victorious from a battle with the Reaper. Ah, that's very true. There is no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper is the prosecutor. The desire to return post haste the perceived safety of your homeland is what I quite understand. My goodness, yes, faced with such a terrifying prospect. Nobody would consider that cowardly, I'm quite sure. You're scaring this fucking man. That was the case that we found ourselves embroiled in 6 months ago now. Soseki-san did indeed return to Japan and submitted a report about both cases to the government. It was on reading that report that Professor Mikotoba was prompted to visit the scholar, and barely any time later, Suzato-san was given the news that she must return to Japan as well. On the back of a telegram stating falsely that her father had fallen gravely ill. The only possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial, on the following day. The day we uncovered the loot hidden by the now deceased convict in his former lodgings. Oh, well done, Mr. Sholmes. How simply marvelous of you to uncover the secret hiding place in just one day. Alrighty, Ash. Wasn't it supposed to take 30 minutes? As I believe I told you, my dear fellows, skin prints are extremely useful in such situations. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson? He's angry about it. Gregsy's been happily munching in agreement this whole time, you know, Hurley. Happily? I think perhaps humorlessly might be closer to the truth. So, it transpires the man fashioned a hiding place in the ceiling. And what's in it? What exactly is the loot? Let us look then, if you're ready. Let's examine the late burglar's hall. What is that? Ooh. It looks to be some sort of neckband or collar. A collar? It's huge though. And look at all the gemstones set in it. I can see why it was claimed to be worth £1,000. Perhaps I could have it as a belt. Oh, have you noticed on the inside there? There are some dark stains. You don't think they could be blood, do you? I mean, there's quite a lot of it. On second thoughts, perhaps I won't have it as a belt. Poor Iris. Then, of course, there's this emblem here. A large letter B and a small crown. What does it signify, do you think? Oh, I hadn't noticed that. I feel as though I've seen that emblem somewhere before, you know. Where could it have been? That's enough of that, I think. What? What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes? All the color is drained from his face. Well, Inspector, I believe you ought to be taking this, oughtn't you? Jesus, that word. It could be valuable evidence, after all. It must be kept safely under lock and key. Okay. I'd never seen a collar that large before, and all those jewels certainly looked to be extremely valuable. But that's not what stood out the most to me, at least. Not once I'd noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar. Those stains. Could they really have been blood? Well, that was a funny case, wasn't it? But it's all buttoned up now. And you look very pleased, Iris. I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use as the basis of this month's story in the magazine. This case would be perfect. It's been so fascinating. You're talking about the latest installment of the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, I presume. The mystery of the knife in the mist, and the mustached man in the convict's curse, perhaps. I can make it a two-part story. Oh, I can't wait. A word, please, Iris. Yes, what is it, Hurley? I'm sorry, but you can't write about this case. It's out of the question. What? Why not? It's a great case. Then I shall have to insist that you limit yourself to the first of your two titles. The second must never be written. Is that clear? Oh, he's dadding her. I don't think I've ever seen this man act like an actual father. Yes.
And so it was that the second of Soseki-san's cases
Can't just suddenly start speaking.
Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again, with an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.
Hey. Four or 5, and I think 5 is the last one.
The grand end of the century Great Exhibition of London. Surely there is not a soul who has failed to hear of it. Wondrous new works of culture and industry from every corner of the globe have converged on Hyde Park. Welcoming over 50 million visitors. The last great hurrah of this century. Astonished and delighted people of all nations, and ended on a note of resounding success. But as regards to the terrible catastrophe that occurred during the festivities, very few are aware my friend Mr. Herlock Sholmes had a hand in unraveling the matter. For from the shadows, it was he who earnestly unearthed the facts of the case. And like the centerpiece of the Great Exhibition, which rose high into the skies of Hyde Park, Sholmes's brilliant deductions, as clear and lofty as the Crystal Tower itself, brought the truth to light.
Welcome back.
At the showground of the Great Exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people. The weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment. Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam engines and electrical power dominate the world. Horse-drawn carts will give way to the motor car. Ships will sprout wings and take to the skies.
This sounds like one of the people that voices Pinky from Pinky and the Brain. Oh, is it? It might not be, but it sounds like it to me.
And today, we showcase even more advanced technology. A glimpse into the future. A world first. A demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine.
This sounds like Pinky. You can't tell me it's not.
A man will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high voltage electricity and beamed to another location, whereupon his body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before.
That sounds like something you shouldn't be doing. They are about to french fry a person. Like, what the fuck? This would be even funnier if it is the guy that voices Pinky from Animaniacs. That would be so fucking funny.
This gentleman will, in the blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air. To arrive an instant later on the Crystal Tower behind you!
Well, that's happening. Runo, are you listening? Oh, sorry, what was that, Iris? What's the matter with you? You've been miles away all morning. Didn't you like what I cooked for breakfast? No, that's not it at all. What were we talking about again? Today's paper! It's full of news about the Great Exposition again. Ah, yes, the Great Exposition. I'd like to go sometime. You're really not your usual self today. You seem very down. Don't you agree, Hurley? Rianuski seems down. Are you seeing this man? This man is depressed. That's a screenshot that I need for some reason, though. Oh gosh, you're even more down. When did you arrive, Mr. Naruto? I've been here for about half an hour already. We had breakfast together? What? Why didn't you mention it before? I thought you might have known I was here. You know, because breakfast. Iris is quite right. You're clearly lacking in vim. So much so that I didn't notice your presence. Thanks. Of course, I could deduce the reason perfectly well with some simple observations. What? Let's see. Yes, for example, your tousled hair this morning with all its unruly spikes. Clearly it can be deduced, therefore, that... let me stop you there, Mr. Sholmes, because I think I could see where this is going. My hair always looks like this. It always has, ever since we first met, in fact. Oh really? How interesting. It just doesn't look like a haircut as such, I suppose. Thanks again. It crossed my mind recently that it's been 6 months now. 6 months? Since I was forbidden from working in court. I've been wondering how much longer I'm going to be banned. Oh, well, that would explain why you seem rather glum. Don't you agree, Hurley? Oh my god. Oh my god. Ah, back to moping. What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today? He seems even more down in the dumps than me. I know, and the Great Exposition is opened. You'd think he'd be excited. Oh, why don't we all go see it together? I want to, of course I do, but I can't. Not for the time being. Did they ban you? Why not? Why not? Why not? Because I'm a great detective after all. So you're embroiled in some tricky case that you can't be distracted from? Is that it? I don't remember hearing that you're working on a case, Hurley. I suppose I should try to find out what's going on. Half a year ago now, I took on the defense of a young girl in a trial heard at the Old Bailey. What at first seemed like a simple case of murder that took place at a London pawnbrokery turned out to be one part of a much far-reaching plot that involved the British government. During the course of the trial, it was found that I made an unavoidable yet at the same time unforgivable mistake. Are we going to see this case? Because I don't think... we didn't see this case. In the end, I had my right to represent people in court revoked. I was told I had to spend my time in research and study, so that's what I've been doing. You have, haven't you, Runo? Reading all those big fat tomes about British law up in your room, and the notes about Sholmes' old cases. Brewing Iris's special blends of tea, fetching my daily bread for me. You You've become something of a manservant around here. Start on the silverware next, Mr. Naruto. Well, I'm thinking of going to ask the powers that be to reconsider. Specifically Lord Strongheart at the British Supreme Court on Whitehall. Lord Strongheart! Ah, the delightful Lord Chief Justice. Not my favorite fellow. He's not mine either, but he's the man I have to talk to. He's the only one who can grant permission for me to start working in the courts again. I came to Britain to become the best lawyer I could, and I can't do that just sitting around here. The whole of London has been swept up in this great exposition, hasn't it? The most advanced science, the most modern technology, the finest works of arts and feats of engineering. For the next 6 months, our capital will be showcasing these things, and the world will be watching. Oh, do you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to look down on London from one of those lovely balloons. Look down on? Do you mean those things? Why? Yes, of course! They fly high in the sky and don't even need wings to do it. All you need is hot air. But how? How does hot air have anything to do with flying? It makes no sense. I can't understand it at all. That's true of a lot of new scientific discoveries. Most people can't understand them at first. But in 100 years' time, all these things will just be common knowledge. I suppose they might be. Mind you, some of the science being demonstrated seems very questionable. Something went wrong on the open experimentation stage yesterday, apparently. There was a huge explosion. Still, I wish I'd seen it, though. I'd love to see how bad some of these scam experiments really are. Says the innocent 10-year-old girl. See here. Every page of this paper carries some article or another about the Great Exposition. Let the brighter things shine, the darker the shadows that are cast behind them. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darkness, to the impenetrable. That is my proper atmosphere. Oh, thank you for that. Shadows cast behind? Is that a metaphorical way of saying referring to the back page of the paper? Well, let's look at it. Oh no, our boyfriend was attacked. Well, it's each option. We gotta cover it all. Are you investigating a particularly tricky case at the moment, Mr. Sholmes? You could say that, I suppose. Nothing more to add? That's not like you. What sort of case is it? Shh! Quiet, Mr. Naruto. We must not discuss it here. You never know who might be listening. You're acting very strangely, Hurley. What do you mean, Iris? Why, usually, the more mysterious and complicated a case is, the better Hurley's mood. Is it really a case that's bothering you? Iris, please, you mustn't exercise your astute powers of observation and deduction on me without invitation. Remember what I always say, put yourselves in the shoes of the individual about whom you're making deductions. You say that, do you? You, Mr. Sholmes. Never mind. Once I've had a cup of tea, I must make my way to the crime scene. It says in the paper that Lord Van Zieks was attacked. That's terrible. You know the legend of the Reaper of the Bailey, of course, don't you? Only too well, in fact. Yes, Prosecutor Baron Van Zieks. They say that if the Reaper is the prosecutor in a case, there's no salvation for whoever's in the dock. Even if the defendant is found not guilty. Once the Reaper has someone in his sights, one way or another, that person's time left on this earth will be short. London's finest rogues always find ways around the law. They'll stop at nothing to secure an acquittal at trial. Falsifying evidence, paying sham witnesses, threatening jurors, bribing judges. But even such devious tactics as those cannot save them from the hand of the Reaper. As you've experienced yourself, haven't you, Mr. Naruto? Yes, I've seen the Reaper's retribution at work. Many of these criminal rogues are reckless and quite unafraid to die. If a leader among their fraternity is seen to have been taken by the Reaper, retaliation like this does occur. Really, the capital has a never-ending supply of such scoundrels. So, do you mean Lord Van Zieks has been attacked like this before? This isn't the first time? He's quite an accomplished combatant, you know. He doesn't take these attacks lying down. Although, it seems that his assailants were armed with guns this time. Oh my goodness, is he alright then? Is Lord Van Zieks hurt? I like that you care about him, Ryunosuke. For the amount of shit and the fucking racism he throws towards you, you're legitimately concerned about him. My dear fellow, how on earth would I know? Well, in the article here it says, as to what of Lord Van Zieks and his condition, all will be revealed in tomorrow morning's edition. Ah, I see. Well, we shall have to be patient then. No, I can't wait till tomorrow. This is dominant men. Maybe, you never, I mean... Kazuma was also very dominant, so I could see it. In that case, you shall have to inquire with somebody in the know. But who? Lord Strongheart, perhaps? Oh, you are dressed and ready to go. Well, I must be leaving now. Yes, understood. See you later, Mr. Sholmes. Ha, you really are shameless liars sometimes, my dear fellow. What? You seek to put me off my guard and follow me, don't you? But you would be wasting your time. The thought hadn't crossed my mind, but now I am wondering where you're going. I was pretty sure that Ryunosuke's first thought was to go make sure Van Zieks was okay. Well then, see you later indeed. Listen to him, he's still laughing on his way out the door. Alright then, Runo, let's get going. Oh, Iris, what are you wearing? I got changed to go to the Great Exposition. You're going to take me. What? But I was just about to go to the Supreme Court. Oh, well that sounds fun too. You're going to take me there then. Alright, fine, just lower that weapon, would you? Of course, and after the Supreme Court, then we'll go see the Great Exposition. I don't think there's anything new in the room, is there? I don't think so. Okay, you gonna leave that there for today, because my throat's gonna hurt if I read it anymore. And I'll be back maybe tomorrow. Bye. Bye.